What's cracking, guys? It's that Chief Guy here, and today we're going to be discussing 5 quick, simple, and easy ways that we can turn the house that we see on our right to the house we see on our left using some very simple building tricks that I'm going to teach you today. Let's dive right into this. Starting our list off at number 1 with structure and depth. Now, the whole point of this is to give the build a sense of structural integrity such that it seems and appears that these logs are holding up the course of our build. Now, if you look over here, we can see that there actually is a wireframe of spruce log structures, and let's try and incorporate that in here. Currently, I have a set of 4 spruce logs set apart, and this will be the outside perimeter and framing of our house. If I just take these logs and then extend this off to make a sort of wireframe like you see in our example build, this will begin to resemble a structural log setup. Now, for this build, I will be using stripped oak logs to incorporate for the interior or the inner depth portion of the build. The reason I want to be using this rather than the planks is that the stripped oak logs actually provide a bit more texture, which adds a little bit of pop. It gets some color moving. There's different shadings in here, and I honestly very much enjoy it. So I'm going to be stacking these vertically around the perimeter of the house, and this will hopefully add to that depth element that I was talking about. So as you can see here, this is already a massive visual improvement from what we had originally over with our oak house setup where we only used exclusively oak planks. Now, what we can do next is add the second portion of the frame, and if we just head here to stagger our wireframe, this will give it a little differentiation and allow us to have some variety, which will make sure that we don't get too bored when looking at this. Coming in at number 2, we have roofing, and more specifically the trim and details that go along with it. Currently I'm adding a stone brick stairs as an overhang, which will add depth as our point mentioned in number 1. In addition, we're going to be adding in also a little bit of color, texture, and that sort of variety to really make the build stand out more. In my opinion, adding this trim is probably one of my favorite things to do with builds, and it also really sticks with me as something that really differentiates a mediocre build from a fantastic build. This is something very simple that anyone can do that will seriously separate you and your friends if you're building in, let's say, a Let's Play survival world, or you're on a server with a bunch of other people, and you want to impress them. Add some trim with overhang onto your build. They're going to be like, whoa, that looks incredible. Now, once all the trim is in place, we can go ahead and fill the rest in with spruce wooden stairs. It's super simple, and I'm just going to get that done right now. Now that the roofing is in, we can see that this is already such a huge improvement from our original wooden plank block structure. It looks a lot more refined. There's trim, texture, there's depth popping out with the wooden logs right here. But there's something else we can do, and that is the use of structural add-ons. In this case, we're going to roll with a brick chimney. Now, just take some brick blocks that you found and toss them right in here. Additionally, we're going to be able to plop some right through here, and this will act as our chimney smokestack. And then take your brick wall and slap a couple right on top of that. And what this does, adds a little extra geometry, gives it more depth and texture. And one more thing we can do to really fancy up this build, and doesn't require a lot of effort, is take some brick stairs in upright configuration and add them right in the middle column here. What this does is adds a little bit of crenellation to make it look like this was sort of chiseled into and someone really did their time working and handcrafting this. So that's another really good thing we can be doing and adding on for the roofing. Now that we have the entirety of the shell of our house, what we can now do is actually work on the exterior, get some windows in, and we can start punching out an area for our door. Now, another thing I really want people to consider is that you can use different doors. Just because you have a spruce frame doesn't mean you have to use spruce doors. Maybe the dark oak looks just as well, and in my opinion, it really does. So let's stick with the dark oak, and then right now we walk in, and we can see that it's currently completely enclosed. There's not a lot going on and it looks messy. Well, if you take some red carpets, just a very simple fix, this will actually allow you to have a much more polished floor. And this really looks like you actually have taken time to pick out a rug and place it down by our soon-to-be fireplace. Now, another thing we can do is come outside and take our gray stained glass panes and carve out a little 2x1 area on the side wall and place in our glass there. This gives us a nice little lighting effect, and something I also like to do is actually chip away at these 2 middle blocks of our wireframe. That kind of gives a staggered effect that this has a quite an original shape to it. And I like to carve out a nice tall Colosseum window right here and pull the entire gray stained glass out like that. And I've been always a fan of that because I'm a huge fan of Colosseum windows. I love the grand lighting effect. And it just really provides a lot of natural light into the build. Another thing that we can do is actually take the area right here and add a little skylight window right up there like that. Something else I really like to consider is the use of fences. Now, fences do something very unique in the fact that they bring a very original shape to the build, and just doing that already just creates such a grand improvement in terms of sort of the visual aspect when you're looking at this house. Pairing that maybe with a strip of buttons then provides a nice ruggedized, structured look that seriously can go miles when you're building on a survival world. These little details are extremely important to remember when you're building. Don't forget! Subtle details that people may not even notice are also extremely good too. For instance, taking the dark oak trap doors with this upside down dark oak stair really can help add to a lot of aspects of the build. I'm very much a fan of just using those to sort of give a nice arch feeling because it adds an extra layer of depth and texture if I haven't said that already enough. And I like to do the same thing on the other side here, just slap some upside down dark oak trap doors with your upside down stairs, and Bob's your uncle, you've got something working really crack-a-lackin'. At number 4, we have foliage. Now, this is a very, very important step that I want to really highlight on, and I think that this is something that a lot of people realize is so crucial to their builds. With foliage, you have the added benefit of adding natural vegetation in here, something that provides a more organic look. Let's say there's bushes that are being, overgrown right over around here, or maybe you bone meal the area for a little extra added grass texture. I mean, this right here looks a lot more alive than everything we see out here in the Great Abyss. It goes a long way. Taking the time to add vines that grow down from your build, as if this was or even up, a vine tree could actually start to sprawl up and go around and really overtake your build. So it's nice to see when people incorporate vines into the build. I think this is extremely important. Something else that could be very useful is the use of flower pots. Now, what I'm going to do is take some grass blocks and then place 3 flower pots on there like such. And now I'm going to take some warped trap doors. I'm using this for the added benefit of a new color or trim to add into the build. And I'm going to place these around the border like such that this sort of provides like a flower pot in a flower pot situation. It's a bit redundant, but I think it's beautiful. Now I'm going to add some tulips right in here to just kind of give that a little added boop. And I think one other thing that we can incorporate is the use of these tall 2-block high flowers, such as peonies, rose bushes, and lilacs. So I'm going to take some lilacs and just toss those right there. Maybe some peonies here. Already this feels a lot more welcome. Don't be afraid to add flowers into the mix. Flowers aren't girly, they're organic and beautiful, and shut up. Another thing I really like to consider is actually removing the random flowers from the grass when I bone meal it. Now, it's not something I do all the time, but for the purpose of this build where we have intentional flowers placed right here, I think it kind of makes sense to actually remove like these guys, because then it might look a little too overgrown. So you got to find that threshold where what is the amount of vegetation that you really want to have introduced into your build. Finally, the last thing we can add is actually a pathway, which provides us with sort of a overgrown texture as well. The great thing we have with mossy cobblestone is to introduce stone with natural vegetation. So we can just patch that in here with some of the regular cobble, and this kind of gives us a nice cobbled effect. Oh, that's such a silly word. Coming in finally at number 1 is lighting. Allowing your build to look good in not only the daytime but the nighttime as well is extremely crucial. Now, spamming torches is great and all, but something that I really enjoy are the use of these lanterns that were introduced. And I think this gives such a rustic vibe, and it gives it such a old medieval town feeling that really fits this build well. And that is something I really love. If you're looking for a more modern build, maybe sea lanterns or some sort of glowstone, redstone lamp hybrid that you're hiding somewhere could work just as well. But for the sake of this build, I love the effect that we're getting from these little lanterns here. So as an added little extra thing we can do on the inside is walk right in here, and we can take a campfire and place it right down here. The smoke actually adds a nice little effect where it actually looks like it's breathing the fire up and out throughout. And it adds a ton of light in here as well, which is such an added benefit that we really need. And it gives a nice little cozy feeling while we're at night trying to hide away from the creepers, zombies, and other skellies that are trying to hurt us. Thank you guys for getting as far as you have, and if you've made it this far, make sure to leave a like and hit that subscribe icon for more content. But I'm going to leave you with 2 bonus little things that you can do to spruce up your build, no pun intended, that you can use and at any point in time. Both of them are super simple, and they're going to do such big things for your build. The first up, which honestly I think is the best, is the use of a furnace in this fireplace to turn this into a functional fireplace. Just chip out that block right there, place your furnace, and boom, you've got a working furnace that you could use to smelt your ingots or smelt your meat, just like you would in real life. This gives a very realistic impression on this fireplace now. The next thing that you could do is maybe go out back and actually take some barrels and stack them up like such. You know, maybe you're trying to store them and you've got a lot of storage and you've got a farm nearby. Well, just add a bunch of barrels here to make it seem like you've got an overflow of storage that you've been hiding here. Okay guys, that's going to be it for the video for today. I hope you loved this 5 ways to improve your building in Minecraft. And don't forget to hit that like button, smash that subscribe icon, and I'll see you guys in the next episode. Stay classy, folks.